I've been on kind of a Silver Age kick as of late, just because how crazy this crap can be. We've already been over Batwoman and Catman dating twice, and we've already talked about Bat-Mite becoming Batwoman's sidekick. Now we're talking about Lana Lang versus Lois Lane, which is nothing new actually. In the Silver Age, they would fight over Superman's love all the time, and sometimes Laura Lemaire would throw in her 2 cents, who, if you didn't know, was Superman's ex-girlfriend who was a mermaid, and he thought she was a Russian spy. Yes, that was a thing. But today we're talking about Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane issue 21 from 1960, and we reprinted Superman's Family issue 4 in 2013. So if you didn't want to read it online, or if you don't have much money to pay for the original copy, you could just pick up the issue from 2013. I myself am illegally reading this on the internet. I'm just kidding. Someone uploads a lot of these older issues onto the internet, which I don't think DC really cares, because all you have to do is Google the issue itself, and the first result is usually the entire issue. So I don't think DC really cares, because they're not hiding the fact that they're on the internet for free. Overall, this issue is how do you say even more bonkers than I would say Batwoman Catman dating, and even more bonkers than Bat-Mite becoming Batwoman's sidekick. Trust me, it's a roller coaster, so let's get on it. Now, what I find funny about the cover is the fact that Lana and Lois don't even attempt to hide their identities. Instead, they go by Super-Lois and Super-Lana. I don't think either of them understands how alter egos work, although yet again they could just not care if their identity is out there, so that is a possibility. And if that's the case, then those names are, I think, are fine, I guess. Although they're a little stupid in my opinion, but they're okay. But if they are trying to hide their identities, they're doing a really bad job at it, because they're literally plastering their initials on their chest. Although yet again, in Superman mythos, LL can mean a lot of things. Lex Luthor, Lightning Lad, Linda Lee, Laura Lemaire, Lois Lane, Luma Lanai, Lana Lang. LL is a very popular thing in the Superman mythos. Now, the idea of these two getting superpowers is neither a new thing nor a dead idea. In fact, Lana Lang in current time of comics is a superhero named Superwoman, a much better name than Super-Lana. But Lois, despite being a normal human, has also been Superwoman multiple times, before this story and after it. The most known version of her as Superwoman is probably All-Star Superman, a great comic and a great movie. Relatively speaking, Lois Lane's sister Lucy Lane has also been Superwoman, but an evil version of the character. There's also Earth 3 Superwoman, Luma Lanai, Future State Supergirl, and Clark Kent. Anyways, let's get what you came for. Super-Lois versus Super-Lana, which is actually the last story in the issue despite being on the cover. So I'm sorry if you wanted to learn about Lois yelling at teenagers, Lois turning into a toy doll, or Lois scolding readers to not give up. Yes, those are the other 3 stories in this issue, but the one they advertise for the comic is probably the only one that people really care about, because the other ones are really just Lois yelling at people. So this issue starts off with them just reporting on the same story, that is Lois and Lana, of course, and they're reporting on some weird science stuff that's not disclosed. And then the story just completely shifts to them now swimming at a lake? I don't know what's going on and why they even had to have the introduction to them being at a science conference, but it did. So now Lois and Lana swimming in a lake. That's a very racist backstory, and as a Native American fan, I will not be repeating what the comic said. But just know it gives them Superman's powers, because reasons. And then the next day, a bomb just goes off. Yes, a bomb just goes off of Metropolis. They both run to the explosion, and they realize, wow, we have powers now, and decide to screw the bomb explosion and helping people, and just start flying around. Now in their costumes from the cover, which they also just magically get, they decide becoming superhero partners. Yeah, what is happening? There's no real explanation of what's happening, where they got powers from, what happened, why was there a bomb, and why didn't they save anybody, or even try to, and where did these costumes come from? Either way, let's continue, because I'm already confused, and there's more things to get confused about. And then the next day, Super-Lois and Super-Lana save a plane from crashing, and Superman gets their attention, and they're wondering, oh, should we tell him? And then he instantly just goes, oh, Lois, Lana, how'd you get powers? And they decide to compete in the idea that one of them needs to marry him, apparently, now that they have powers. I don't understand that logic, but okay. Then Lois and Lana decide the only way to make him want to marry either of them is to have a cook-off. So Lana and Lois compete in who can make the better dinner and breakfast, because Superman apparently only wants to marry the best cook. Doesn't matter if he loves them, just as long as they can cook, he's going to marry them apparently. Anyways, Lana makes pancakes and instantly wins. which makes Lois really petty and decides to go on a vandalism trip as she vandalizes famous monuments across the globe, from Mount Rushmore to something in Washington. I'm sorry, I'm Canadian, I don't know. And also a bunch of Egyptian cats. So, yes, Lois just vandalized a bunch of historic monuments. And did Superman have any problem with this? No, of course not. In fact, this actually kind of impresses him, because apparently vandalism of historic monuments is something that turns on Superman. Okay, probably shouldn't make that joke. But why? Lois, you're turning into a supervillain. And then things go too far, as Lana and Lois all out start to fight, only to learn their powers are now gone, because it was apparently temporary. Which is a good thing that they didn't start fighting in the sky, because if they started fighting in the sky, they would have probably plummeted to their deaths. So at least they started fighting on land. Well, they fought in Egypt. So Superman has to fly them out of Egypt, and that's how the story ends. Yes, that's how it ends. Whoa, that story was something, all right. In my opinion, this is one of probably the shortest and weirdest comic books I've ever read. And in my opinion, it was something I was excited for because on the cover it seemed fun, but it really wasn't. Like, at all. Lois and Lana got their powers just out of nowhere. No explanation given. And they don't really do anything with them but pine over Superman with them. Personally, I think this story would have worked better if instead they were competing for who could be the better superhero, and for perhaps the public's love instead of if they were competing for Superman's love. After all, Lois Lane in this era was known for wanting to be loved by all, which I think would have made more sense than them, just pining over Superman. This story, in my opinion, was a waste of an idea, because this could have either been, one, funny and cringe, or actually decently constructed. Instead, it was just sexist and boring, which doesn't really, bring a lot of attention to it, because I was surprised no one was ever talking about this issue, because a lot of Civil Age comics get talked about a lot online, and I've never seen anyone talk about this one. And probably for good reason, because it was so boring. Nothing really happened. A bomb went off and no one cared. Literally, Lois and Lana had powers, and all they did was cook food for Superman. They didn't even try to be superheroes. Like, they said they were, but were they really? And their fight that was promised on the cover only lasted a single panel, which ended with them learning that they don't longer have powers. Overall, this comic could have been a lot more fun, but it really just fell flat on its face, and in my opinion, the reason for that is probably just how short it was, and that they didn't really get a chance to actually explore anything, because the comic instead decided to fill most of its pages with Lois Lane yelling to teenagers, or yelling to the reader, or yelling to toy makers. Either way, that's the end of this video. Like always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!